Let me tell you a story, a real story. Back in 2018, me and a friend of mine, we were discussing the economy of Turkey. Turkey was in news those days because the value of its currency, the Turkish lira, had drastically fallen. My friend came up with an idea that we should travel to Turkey apparently for two reasons. Reason number one, Turkish carpets. Carpets that are made in Turkey are exported worldwide. They are famous, they are cheap. My friend came up with the idea that we should go there and explore the carpet market or the carpet industry of Turkey. We could then purchase or import Turkish carpets at cheaper rates during that time because the value of its currency had fallen, and we could sell those carpets in the domestic market in India at higher prices. The idea was good. Reason number two, travel. Turkey is a beautiful country, and now that the value of its currency had fallen, we could plan a trip to Turkey at lower costs than before. I was convinced. We started planning. But the plan only remained on paper and it never got executed. Hence, we didn't go. But this minor incident planted a seed of Turkey in my mind. In other words, after that, whenever I came across any news or a piece of information about Turkey, I would get interested in knowing more about it. Now, coming back to the content of this video, the case study which I will be talking about happens to be one of the most important lessons I have learned in the financial domain this year. I was surprised when I first came across this information. Then I started digging deeper and I realized that this information is worth sharing with you. As you can see, this is Asia's map and this is Turkey. This is India, then going towards west comes Pakistan, then Iran, and after crossing Iran comes Turkey. Turkey shares its border with Iran. Strategically, the location of Turkey is very important because Turkey shares its coastal line with Black Sea as well as Mediterranean Sea. Turkey's capital is Ankara. Yes, it's not Istanbul, it's Ankara. Istanbul is the largest city in Turkey and it also happens to be the financial capital of Turkey. In other words, Istanbul is the Mumbai of Turkey. Istanbul is the only city in the world that is on two continents, Asia and Europe, which makes it possible to have breakfast on one continent and lunch on the other. Turkey is an Islamic country. More than 99% of its population is Muslim. Turkish cuisine or Turkish food is considered the best in the world. It is specially famous for its delicious non-vegetarian food items, and Turkish chefs are also considered the best chefs in the world. Turkey is a beautiful country and it is a very famous tourist destination as well. Turkey is also considered as one of the world's greatest shopping destinations. Saint Nicholas, the original Santa Claus, was also born in Turkey. Turkey is an Islamic country, but it is very different from other Islamic countries. Turkey is considered a modern Muslim country. Unlike other Islamic countries, Turkey is a multi-party democratic country and it is a working economy. It is secular in nature with great diversity. It also focuses on female empowerment, and unlike other Islamic nations, Turkey doesn't have too many restrictions on women. Despite being a Muslim country, you won't see too many local women wearing burqas, niqab or hijab. They have the freedom to dress however they want to. This is why people in many Muslim countries turn their eyes to Turkey to observe that to be a Muslim and to live a Western-oriented life is actually possible. These are some facts, or what I would call some rosy facts about Turkey. So far, so good. But do remember that there are always two sides to a coin. To view the other side of the coin, let us jump over to some facts about Turkey's economy. Turkey is undergoing a currency and debt crisis. Turkey's currency is lira and currently it is one of the weakest currencies in the world. Inflation in Turkey climbed to a 24-year high of 83% in September. Let that sink in. 83% inflation according to government's official data. Just to give you an insight about how high this inflation rate is, you can compare it with other G20 nations. As you can see here, China's inflation rate is 2.8%, Japan 3%, India 7.41%, United States 8.2%. This is the inflation data for the month of September 2022. Inflation in Turkey now stands at 83%. However, an independent inflation research group claims that the actual rate stands at a whopping 186%. And how are people of Turkey coping? Take a look.
Prices are high. We're really struggling. We have two children who go to school. We are only earning minimum wage, and it's hard to make a living.
19 yaşındayım ve
I'm 19 years old, and I'm not hopeful. I don't think the situation here in Turkey will improve. I don't see a future here. I actually want to go abroad. This is true for most of us.
I don't think inflation is around 80%. It's much higher. I don't know whether the official figures are true or not, but the inflation I feel is much more. That's why it's getting harder and harder to live.
Turkey's currency problems began in 2018. In August 2018, US imposed economic sanctions after Turkey detained an American pastor, Andrew Brunson, on terrorism charges. US doubled the custom tariffs for Turkish steel and aluminum imports, leading to a rapid fall in the value of Turkish lira, which tanked by over 20% a few days after the US decision. Turkey was already undergoing a debt crisis, and now this currency crisis was nothing less than rubbing salt in the wound. The Turkish economic growth model had collapsed. Turkey's economic problems are linked to the policies pursued by its president Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The growth model that Turkey followed involved maintaining high levels of investment financed by ever-increasing foreign debt. This expansionary monetary policy allowed Turkey to maintain a relatively high rate of economic growth from 2000 to 2010. Turkey was one of the fastest growing economies in the world at that point, but then Erdogan drove it off a cliff. Robert Browning said, "A man's reach should exceed his grasp." In other words, set outlandish goals for yourself. It's a great advice, but it doesn't always work. It was the inflow of foreign capital which posed the stimulus for development, and it led to an increase in Turkish companies and banks' indebtedness. The expansion resulted in foreign exchange imbalance, rising inflation, and the weakening of the Turkish currency. Turkey's external debt reached a whopping $450 billion at the end of 2017, while the central bank's foreign reserves amounted to $85 billion only. Because Turkey had such a huge foreign debt and very less foreign reserves, the value of its currency kept falling. The country is also facing a problem of high inflation, and according to conventional economics, the interest rates should be increased in order to control high inflation. This formula of increasing interest rates when the inflation is high is followed worldwide by almost all other countries, and it works. The inflation gets cooled down. But Erdogan doesn't believe in raising interest rates. In fact, Erdogan calls interest rates the mother of all evil. Erdogan has cited Islam as a reason for keeping interest rates low. Islamic teachings forbid Muslims from receiving or charging interest on loaned or borrowed money. Erdogan once said on television that his Muslim faith prevented him from supporting rate hikes. He said, "We are lowering interest rates. Don't expect anything else from me. As a Muslim, I will continue doing what our religion tells us. This is the command." He has made Islam the center of Turkish politics. Recep Tayyip Erdogan's unorthodox views on interest rates are stated to be one of the most important causes of the crisis. The economy of Turkey is tanking, inflation is skyrocketing, foreign debt is piling up, and the currency is in a free fall. Foreign investors are dumping Turkish assets. More than half of the population is struggling in terms of income. The lives of people in Turkey are getting harder day by day.
Money is worthless, and life in Turkey is worthless. It's so hard to live in Turkey, actually.
According to a survey, 76% of young people in Turkey would leave the country to find a better future.
It's so hard to be a young people.
This is literally the worst time to be a young person in Turkey.
It's really hard to live here as a young person.
In simple words, what you are looking at is a failed governance. What is President Erdogan doing to prevent all of this? Does he even have a plan to fix this mess? Doesn't look like it. What's worse? There is an election next year in Turkey, and if Erdogan cannot fix the economy, his chances are not so great. As we can see that Turkey's economy is going southwards and nothing seems to be going in their favor. It looks like there is no light at the end of the tunnel. In such bad circumstances, why would you and I consider investing in Turkey's economy? In such tough times, just imagine how Turkey's stock market would have performed in the last 3 or 4 years. Well, you don't have to imagine, I will tell you. Now, before I tell you about Turkey's stock market performance, let us understand the meaning of this important word, contrarianism or contrarian investing. What does this mean? Contrarianism means doing the opposite of what others do or leaning against the wind. This is essential for investment success. Now, let us take a look at Turkey's stock market performance. It will blow your mind. In the last 3 years, Turkish stock markets have given staggering returns of 202%. That's the highest return given by any European country during this period. Second highest, as you can see, is Denmark with 47% returns. That's not even half of Turkey's returns of 202%. In fact, Turkish stock markets have given the highest returns in the world in the last 3 years period. I am talking about the major economies. Now, let's take a look at last 1 year returns. Turkish markets have given a return of 127%. Second best in Europe is Portugal with minus 1.9% returns. Just look at the difference. This means that no major economy in Europe has given positive returns in last 1 year except Turkey. If we compare it with the rest of the world, you can see that Turkey's returns are highest and the second best is Indonesia, which is in the Asia Pacific region with 12.3% returns. No country is even close to Turkey's returns of 127%. The point I am making is quite simple. If you had invested in Turkey's market last year, your money would have been more than doubled by now. But you kept the same money in the bank's fixed deposit and it has grown just around 6% in 1 year. There are times when the world doesn't operate in terms of logic. This is especially true in the case of stock markets. Turkey has been one of the worst performing economies in the world in the last 3 years, but still its stock market has been the best performing market, giving unbelievable returns. This is what we call contrarianism. Now, coming back to us, what approach do we follow while investing in stock markets? We simply look for good companies. We look for companies with good balance sheet, good governance, good profit numbers, good sales numbers, and we avoid investing in companies where we don't see anything good. We avoid investing in companies that are in mess. We follow this conventional wisdom of investing and yet we lose on most of our investments. So, is this the right approach to follow while investing? Think about it.